Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 8. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, picking up in the aftermath of last episode, we have Dwight, Mitch, and Goody all sitting down with Tyson and telling him what he did was wrong. Because it's like, right, what you do does have consequences. Because the fact of the matter is like, hey, you could be dead or arrested, or worse, arrested. He's like, how is that worse? It's like, it's worse because that affects everyone. Your actions don't affect you. We get it, you are angry, but for one, you could have gotten killed. You could have gotten arrested. The fact of the matter is you went in there without a plan. And Goody's like, first and foremost, that's not how this situation works. This was like a real mafia. You'd be out. Now, when I hear Dwight say that, Tyson's like, oh, am I out of this situation? My immediate thought was, oh, I thought he meant out, as in like, yo, if this was any other situation, you would get popped. That's what I interpreted that as. But maybe it is just a thing you get out stiff from the family. I thought it would have been like, blam blam, you're done type of situation. But you know, maybe I'm I'm coming at it from an even darker perspective. But either way, but yeah, they just kind of let Tyson go, just like, hey, go home and we'll figure this out some shape or form. Because he was saying like, yo, am I out? And they're like, no, like, you won't get it, Tyson. Even when you're wrong, we still look out for you because that's what, you're part of the family and we're going to look after you. And that's what we hope, like, when the time comes, you look after us too. That's how this goes. It's a two-way street. We look out for you, you look out for us. That's how it's supposed to go. So now the question is, what does Dwight plan to do? So he has basically everyone like shut down all the businesses, like, has Bodie shut down the weed store because it's like, yeah, you're going to draw too much attention, which everyone was like, I do notice that neither Armand nor Tyson are here, so there's probably a good chance that, you know, there was, this is kind of on them, and so lo and behold, it is. So it ends up being that massive domino effect of Tyson didn't realize, like, once again, he was just so angry. Understandably, everyone kept telling him they understood, but even Mitch was like, yo, take time to think this through, but he didn't. Like, the next day he was ready, or that night he was ready to go after Bill, even though Bill had nothing to do with what happened to your dad. So that, once again, that's the even sadder result of it. And now Tyson set so much in motion, and he's got to live with the consequences of, right, they're not going to kick you out of the family, but you got to recognize this all came about because of you. But the argument could also be none of this would have happened if Dwight wasn't Dwight, because it actually plays into the conversation he has with Tina, where Tina's like, right, I thought things could change, but you can't change, can you? He's like, this isn't my fault. And she's like, truth be told, a lot of this was fallout outside of his own control, but also at the same time, even he's kind of recognized, like, yeah, maybe I should have taken that deal from Bill, but he let his pride and his ego get in the way. And it's like, he's constantly done that, where he's just like, yo, I'm not going to take guff from nobody. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're not going to tell me otherwise type of situation. And it's like, if I had handled things better in the past, we wouldn't even be in a situation where Tyson would believe that because Bill wouldn't have taken a shot at Dwight, and then, you know, what happened to Tyson's dad, that never would have, like, even crossed Tyson's mind to think Bill was responsible if things were good, because that was who he immediately went to. It didn't cross his mind to think it was New York, or he didn't think it was Thresher. He assumed and figured he was right that it was Bill, because Bill's the only one they've really hit, and so to get hit back, he's like, it has to be Bill. But this also is a byproduct of Dwight starting beef with Thresher as well. So at the end of the day, he also recognizes, like, anything that was fallout, because, he doesn't want to fully take responsibility, but as the general, as the head honcho of this operation, anything your people do does fall on you, because that's a lack of leadership on your part. But also, once again, he's the one that set so much stuff in motion, and that's kind of a point Tina says, kind of like, who kind of orchestrated all this. It's like, yes, everything, the source of all of this tension this season in general, just everything can go back to Dwight. So he has to own that responsibility, and he kind of knows that. But it's like, yeah, this particular situation wasn't my fault. I told Tyson not to do it, and he did it anyway. So, and now Tina's going to move back to New York, and it's just, for her, it's just the heartbreaking thing is, it's like, I don't think our family can repair itself after this. He's like, but given enough time, we'll be able to work this out, right? And she's like, there is no more time. I think it's because it's like it took them this long to get to where it took decades for them to get to where they are now, and it's also you're older now too, and it's just like everything. I'm not gonna keep getting sucked up into this. I fooled myself into believing that things could change, but it can't. And she's like, that's the sucky thing for her. It's like, I know you're a good person. I know there's a good person in there underneath all that. And he's like, I just don't want you to hate me. And she's like, I love you. That's what makes this so much harder. You keep breaking my heart over and over again. So she ends up leaving while Dwight was out of the house. And so Joanne stays behind because she doesn't want Dwight to be alone. And even Tina's like, yeah, like no matter how much he would never admit it, he doesn't like being alone. And so he thought he finally had his family back in totality, and it's like he had his daughter, he had his grandchildren, and he had his sister, but now he just has Joanne, and it's just like, I really didn't want her to go. He wanted to try and make things right. He wanted to build a life for them that would make it, he wanted them to be comfortable. He was trying to do right, but once again, you kind of have to, you made your bed, so you kind of have to lie in it. All the consequences, all the dominoes falling, it all, once again, the source of it all, yes, other people play the roles in it, but if it wasn't for you, who knows how things can play out. But that's what ifs. We can't live in what ifs, considering we're already down this path. The dominoes have already fallen down this far. There's no dominoing those dominoes. Tyson's in the exact same boat. He's talking to his dad, and his dad's like, I was trying to get in contact with you. He's like, I woke up a little after you left. He's like, no, Dad, nothing went down. Like, everything's good. Yeah, I was just venting and stuff like that, but nothing happened. He's like, right, just don't do anything stupid. Sadly, not knowing Tyson already did. And then his mom came in, and so Tyson immediately leaves. And it's just like, Tyson's dad's like, you nearly lost me. Are we going to lose our son? And Tyson's mom's like, I think we already did. So that's the thing of like, there are consequences for this. That who knows? Maybe given enough time, maybe Tyson and his mom could be in a good place. But it is it's a very sad parallel between Tyson and Dwight. But it's also the whole point of, yeah, your choices, your actions affect everyone, because Vic is still alive, the guy that got Bill's guy that got shot, but now Bill's declared war on Dwight and them. So the feds were actually listening in on everything going down in KC, so they heard about Bill and Chicky talking about whacking Dwight. So the feds that are keeping an eye on Dwight give him a warning, but they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. Hope you're able to kind of stay alive. But it's like, yeah, they don't care. It's like, you're one bad guy taking out another bad guy. We're not going to shed any tears over it. But we do have our responsibility of, we have this information, so do what you will with it. But we gave you a warning, and if you have some, so kind of don't say we didn't do anything for you. So, but yeah, like I said, Dwight appreciates their so clear concern. What was that? Because I used the phrase like, the bed, you have to sleep in the, you made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. There was some conversation about beds. I forgot. I think some kind of metaphor was brought up about beds, and it was like, and it was like, did the Romans sleep in beds? So like, wait, did they have beds? And it's like, no, I think they did. And then Bodie went on this whole historical thing, and then Dwight's like, Bodie, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we don't need a whole history lesson on this. He's like, besides, the Romans slept on straw. He's just like, I love that but he still had to get in there, like, the correcting Bodie on that whole thing. I love it. I also think it's so interesting, and I'm kind of worried for Grace. She's probably the one of the group I'm the most concerned for, but I mean, she can't take care of herself. She even says like, yo, I'll help out. I'm literally the best shot in the group. So I'm just kind of like, I mean, once again, that's the problem. Like, any of our side characters can get it, as we saw in the episode Jimmy gets shot. Granted, he's not, we don't know if he's dead, but he definitely got shot. I mean, he pulled out the blicky. He was ready to kind of return fire, but he got shot before he hit shots off, and I was like, damn, dude. Especially too, considering him and Bodie were just having that conversation about like, what's all this, and he talked about like, right, he was telling a story about like how his grandfather told a story about like, native tribes, and just, he's like, right, like, the conversation of, people coming and stealing, and and he's like, it's called I forgot what he was just basically saying. It is what it is. An inevitability is what he's saying. Like, it's not even theft or this or that. And he's like, what are you trying to say? It's like, considering everything we're a part of, it was only an inevitability. It was all bound to happen. It's just we were never going to know in what shape or form or when it's coming, but it was a matter of time. Considering we got mixed in with Dwight, like, there was never going to be a question of if this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how. So once again, putting it like, yo, any of our side characters could potentially catch it at any point in time, but Bill did make his move. So, but I don't, because he does, that's like, they're mainly hitting any place that Dwight could go, specifically places he owns. Like, he doesn't know where, he doesn't know where any of the individual employees live. So, and once again, they were trying to take a shot at Dwight, but it's just like, right, they took a shot at who they could take a shot at, so. Tied into all of this, we had the whole situation with Cal and Jackie. Jackie talked about the fact that he's been in this country since he was 13, and he was like, yeah, I was in this restaurant or whatever for like 8 other refugees, and he was like, yeah, they serve Chinese food, but he was like, yeah, I didn't quote unquote Chinese food, and he was like, it wasn't familiar to me. So he's like, I learned the language, and he made this whole point to Cal about, right, do you know that why, like, we're so much better than you Americans? He's like, yeah, I learned about Americans. And it's like, oh, what did you learn? It's like, they're lazy. He's like, do you know why we're trouncing you? He's like, because we're ruthless. Kind of that willingness to do whatever it takes. And basically Jackie takes this opportunity to hijack Cal's business. Granted, he could have, the easy solution would be just to kill him. It's like, yeah, I'm going to take your whole operation. You're going to sign this contract where you're selling it to us for $1,000. So you're not even getting fully bought out. And so Cal has no choice but to accept or get popped. Hey, I was expecting Jackie just to straight up pop you because that's easier, but it's like, right, last thing they need is some well-known guy here in Tulsa like Cal disappearing. It's like, we could make you disappear, but like, well, let's make it easier on ourselves and not complicate things. But if need be, we can complicate things, but it won't be that complicated. It'll just be a, minor nuisance at best. And what did Cal do? He kind of went wham all the way to Bill, being like, yo, we can't let this guy win. I need you to help me, like, take care of him. You've got the resources and power. But it's like Bill's already dealing with the whole Dwight situation. And then he finds out from Cal, like, yeah, this guy I'm doing business with, Jackie, yeah, he's the one that took a shot at Dwight. And Bill's like, are you kidding me? It's because of you. I'm literally in the middle of a war now. So it's like, cool. And there's no, like, taking that back considering you just took your shot across the bow. Like, once again, it's just everything going wrong can go wrong. Yes, this started with Tyson, but they shot at Dwight's butt. And once again, Vic's at least alive. He might have gotten 2 in the shoulder, but he's still alive. We don't know if Jimmy's alive or not. So there's that. But it's like, yeah, this is all, Cal has his own responsibility in all this. It's like, these are the people he was in business with. So, and once again, he's the one that started shit with Dwight, Dwight tried to approach him all friendly, but he was egotistical and got in his field, like, trying to be hot shit. And now the situation's turned into what it's turned into. So Cal's kind of left in the wind. But also, like, now Bill knows, like, yo, if anything, all the fallout from this war, I'm going to see if I can ease it. But once again, we've already fired our shot. Like, there's no easing this right now. Who knows? Maybe Bill could have a sit down with Dwight, kind of parlay this again, or attempt to, by being like, yo, I'm sorry what happened to your guy, but it was like a misunderstanding on all fronts. It wasn't us, it was Cal. And maybe them, like, Dwight dealing, well, because it, once again, the whole conversation of you're still responsible for the people under you, is that you were partnered up with Jackie, so what Jackie does still, is on Cal. So he probably won't suffer the ramifications directly, but I'm so curious to see what ends up happening to him. I just get the feeling like he won't make it out of this season. I just get that feeling and that inkling, but I don't know. Speaking on all this mob stuff, we had the whole situation in New York where VIDS actually coming at it from an interesting perspective, where he's like, the last thing we want, we are better off if there's a stalemate between KC and Tulsa. Like, they have their muscle, but neither side is that strong. And if they stay at a stalemate, it makes it easier to come in and wipe them out if we need them to. Because the last thing we want is a winner in this war. Because whoever wins ends up gobbling up the competition and becoming stronger and becoming more of a thorn in our side. Which which Chicky was like, "Yo, Vince, stay in your lane." It's like, yo, he's thinking this through because Chicky isn't cut out from it. He's too much of he's too hot-headed. He's too heavy-handed of all of this. And Vince is like, "All right, bet." It's like, right, we got to remove Chicky. My thought was like, yo, we're gonna pop Chicky, but he's like, no, there's another way to do this. And I was like, you're not gonna get him arrested, right? It's like, no, because that was my immediate thought, because I was like, is that how you're gonna remove him from the board? But it's like, nah, like they would never go down that route, because that would be the same thing as being a rat. So it's like, no, we don't cooperate with cops no matter what, even if it's for the betterment of this family. We don't do that. So the thing is, he got the all go ahead last episode, and now like he pushes that through where it's like, yo, we gotta sideline Chicky. It's basically remove him from the family. So they had to sit down and it's like, yo, take Chicky's gun because you'll do too hot-headed. So, but it's like, yeah, they bash him for everything that he's done. It's like, what was it, Jerry, you killed a couple episodes back. He's like, you kind of killed Jerry. Some money's kind of running dry on certain fronts. You kind of sent Dwight to Tulsa. He's like, yes, he was kind of saying that wasn't my idea. I can't remember if that was Pete's, but it might be a thing of Pete suggested it only because Chicky like whispered in his ear that was the best thing to do. But it's the thing of, hey, Dwight is old school. Like he's an OG. You should have showed him some respect and offered him a seat at the table and everything, because that's what he deserved, considering he did a 25-year stint for us. He held it down, and what was his reward? To get sent off. It's like, yeah, he went off and kind of broke off on and did his own thing. What do you expect when we kind of like toss him to the wind like that? So they're telling Chicky just to kind of keep it chill. They don't exactly bring up the whole like, well, you also killed your dad. The rumors are circulating, but it's like one of the guys mentioned Chicky's dad, Pete, passing, and then Vince was like, passing, and that pissed Chicky off. It's like, yo, you're the one that was running your mouth while you were drunk, kind of insinuating that you had something to do with your dad's death. You weren't directly insinuating, but you said some stuff that it implies that you did it, which we as the audience know you did do it. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if he knows they know you killed Pete. Like, he has to know that they know that, considering he got so pissed at Vince's, quote unquote passing, so. I still don't know if Vince is going to make it, because Chicky is such a hothead. I could definitely see him, like, going, like, crazy and just like popping everyone, especially Vince, because like what else does he have outside of this being sidelined and the family that he believes directly belongs to him? And it's like, to be fair, it wouldn't be the first time you killed for the throne. You took it by force last time, so who's to say you won't do it again? I don't think Vince is going to make it out of this season, but we'll have to wait to see. So we have all that. Then we've got the freaking Armand of it all. Yo, our boy is spiraling because he's scared, because he's nervous, that he's like, yo, the moment, like, because once again, consequences for everybody. Dwight's got his consequences and everyone else is feeling it, and that's a byproduct of Tyson's consequences. And also, just once again, this episode was just the episode of consequences. And so Armand is spiraling out because he's like, yo, I think Dwight's going to find out that I'm the reason who told him about, like, I was kind of some of the reason why Cal came after you, the wind turbines and stuff, and kind of put you even more so in. Once again, Dwight is 100% responsible for putting himself in Cal's way, but it's like, yeah, like beating up those guys at the wind turbines just added more fuel to the fire, specifically on the Jackie front. But still, it's like Armand didn't do himself any favor, so he's trying to talk to his wife about like, yo, I should go to the feds, witness protection, and wants to bring his ex and his kids along, but she's like, no, I want to be away from you, I'm done. Kind of just like the whole Tina conversation, where it's like Tina says to Dwight, where it's like, you are responsible for your own actions, like you kind of created the situation you're in. What does he do? He proceeds to tell her to fuck herself, kicks the door in, and tells her to go. And she's like, yo, we're done. Like, don't ever call me again. So you're never going to see your kids again after this. But once again, he's spiraling. He goes to work. He crashes out to the point Margaret's like, yo, like, go home. You're drunk. because he had a drink before he went to go see his ex. 'Cause he had to do something to calm his nerves, and that's just his anxiety, his nervousness, his desperation in conjunction with alcohol. Like I said, it was crashing out. And he kind of like talks bad about Margaret, talking about like, yo, your boyfriend is this mobster and he's killer. She's like, fuck you, you're fired. It's like, cool. Like, don't bring my personal business at me, and Dwight's business is our business. She knows who Dwight is. She accepts him for who he is, but it's like, yo, out of here. So cool. Not only is your ex want nothing to do with you, you're definitely not going to see your kids. You just lost your job. He goes to Cal for help, which I think is interesting considering like he tosses Armand like $100 because Armand's like, yo, just give me like, I could either come work for you or you could give me like 5-10 grand. I could pay it back. That won't be much to you. It's just my way of just kind of like getting out of here, having a fresh start or whatever. But it's like, nah, we're not doing that, which is ironic considering Cal would later on in the episode have everything taken from him for like $1,000. So it's just funny how that all works out like that. Karma came back to bite him in the ass in a big way in that capacity. But yeah, Armand, once again, was desperate. Hell, he's drinking more, calling up his son, being like, yo, look after your brother. It's like, yo, I'm going to have to do something, and you're probably not going to see me for a while. But, you know, he's like, right, like, don't just remember the bad times. There were good times as well. And he's like, yeah, I stepped in it. And he's kind of talking about, like, yo, the past, you have to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to fester, and it's still going to be there. It's like, well, you tried to deal with the past in season 1, and that came back to bite you in the ass. And it kind of gave you borrowed time, but it was only a matter of time before you screwed the pooch and Dwight was going to be on your ass. Once again, they seem like they've been on decent enough terms, but let's face it, Armand is the only... Well, Bodhi was kind of screwed into working with Dwight, but it wasn't as much of a tumultuous situation as Armand literally tried to kill him. So, you know, it's a little different. Once again, considering Dwight wasn't even after him because Dwight didn't know he was in Tulsa, he is kind of the maker of his own situations. Like if he had never tried to go after Dwight, Dwight would have never known you were here. There's been some benefits to being cool with Dwight, but it's also mixed you up in some shit you didn't want to get mixed up in. And on top of that, you also have to pay him money, and all that's hard to do when you're dealing with child support and alimony, and you now no longer have a job too, so it's all screwed, and your backing by Cal, which was temporary to begin with, as now that well is dried up. So once again, crashing out. I'm like, are you going to try and take out Dwight again? Nah, better yet, the money that they were going to send half of it to... Oh, right, like half of it was going to go to Donnie, and then like the other half they were going to... I don't remember what they were going to do with the other half, but he didn't take a lot. He took what was on the table, and I don't know how much that was, but... You know, Armand showed up and robbed Goody. I was kind of nervous like he was going to pop Goody, but it's like Armand, I think, he's desperate, sure, but he's not a killer because he knows if he kills Goody, that's going to be even worse. But it's like he doesn't want to do that. It's like, yo, just let me get what's mine. I'm just going to bounce. But Goody keeps telling him, like, yo, this is suicide. Like, Dwight is going to find you and he is going to skin you alive. And it's like, yeah. He's like, fuck Dwight and fuck you. And he took off. So, yo... I knew Armand was crashing out. I was not expected to crash out to play it out the way it did this episode. I thought we were just going to have some more time of like him crashing out more. But it's like, yeah, Armand is bouncing. So to be fair, Dwight doesn't have time to go after Armand considering he's got so much else to deal with. Now the question then becomes, I wonder if Armand will end up turning state's evidence against Dwight or whatever, considering his circumstances. So I'm sure like the feds or whatever will scoop him up in that moment. I don't know. I do not know how that's going to play out, but Dwight and his crew are locked and loaded. How this all plays out, we'll have to wait to see. I believe we have 2 episodes left. I believe this season's 10, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe we have 2 more episodes. So I'm so curious to ultimately see how this all ends up playing out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.